Hi everyone, this video is gonna be a little different from my usual ones. I felt like ranting about TikTok a little bit because I don't enjoy it as much anymore. I've been posting on there since 2020, which is kinda crazy to think about. I have noticed a lot of changes that happened from 2020 to now, and it can all be summarized as people are just so much meaner now. In my experience, from 2020 to about 2022, I was chilling, honestly. I posted a lot, got a lot of feedback, positive and negative, but even the criticism I would get was not only valid and constructive, it was also respectful. And my art was bad, like bad. If I posted it now, I would get eaten alive on TikTok, but we'll get there when we get there. At some point in 2022, I started getting significantly more just straight up mean and rude comments, often with a sprinkle of racism, homophobia, fatphobia, you name it. And most of it was on My Little Pony related videos where I shared my designs at headcanons. I know I mentioned this in every other video, but this time it's actually on topic. But to make it short, if you are this mad about pony headcanons, you're weird. Most of these characters do not have canonical or even implied ethnicities, sexualities, etc. So it's literally just a matter of taste, and if you don't like someone's interpretation, you can just move on. There's literally no need in being rude. At first, I would try and explain it to these people. I don't know why. I don't bother with that anymore. I don't have the time nor energy for it. Then I started drawing more South Park because I started watching it, and sometime later it kind of started trending on TikTok, so a lot of people were drawing it as well. And a lot of people started hating on any type of fan art of the show. I would often get comments calling me cringe, a new fan, as that's a bad thing, being homophobic, of course, even saying that I sexualized the kids, which I didn't do ever. And to be clear, I don't like my art from that time very much. The kids didn't look their age, the anatomy was off, and so on. But as much as I agree with some of the criticism, if it's hidden under insults, I'm just not gonna listen. I think that if you want to take it upon yourself and give advice to someone that didn't even ask for it, the least you can do is say it politely. Being rude or passive-aggressive will only make the person defensive and overshadow any actual advice you might have. Or at least that's how I function. But yeah, this was my experience for a while, no matter if I drew South Park, My Little Pony, Bluey, Monster High, even when I just showed some plus-size body sketches. Like, it has definitely died down now since I have been posting way less on there lately, but also because I have blocked so many people. But another big issue I see that doesn't have to do with me directly, but I still hate it, and it's the art lore. Now, personally, I discovered the term on TikTok, but I've seen people use it when talking about art drama from Tumblr, DeviantArt, or YouTube. You know, actual drama involving not very good people. And maybe it was like that on TikTok at first, but now most of it is just people straight up bullying beginner artists, and it breaks my heart when it's clearly a kid showing off something they are proud of, but to other people it's not good enough. So of course, the solution is to make fun of them, make parodies of the original, and sometimes even fix the original drawing. Or maybe an artist just exists, having a cartoony, stylized art, one of their videos goes viral out of nowhere, and the bullying begins again. Or an artist is literally showing their progress by redrawing their old work, but because the old work is bad, they get bullied. If you know, you know, but I still don't get this. Isn't that the point? And their comment sections get flooded with the same overused, vague, passive-aggressive comments like, "Oh, Smile guys were in the original, yikes, or a new phrase of the month. I actually haven't mentioned this yet, but I hate vague comments like this because literally, what do you want me to do with this? If you have a problem with something, just say it if you can just scroll past, seriously. But back on topic, I cannot imagine acting like this and thinking it's okay or funny. Art takes time to learn, especially the basics, figuring out your style, anatomy, poses, facial features, facial expressions. Everything takes time to learn. And artists don't even owe you that, but people just love finding a new thing to hate on. Today we hate sketchy lines, then we hate same faces, then we hate this specific art style. And we will go and comment on these things super harshly because we don't like it. How are you this bored? It's so weird to me how people go about this, like drawing similar faces is a crime or something. You can have opinions, obviously, there's things in art that I dislike too, but I just don't follow or interact with artists if I don't like their art. Simple as that. Obviously, if the art is actually problematic, it's a different story, but I'm talking about subjective things like not liking an art style or preferring more variety. Just leave people alone. And on the other side of this is AI art. It's kind of a big topic, so I'm not gonna get too deep into it here. I haven't seen that much of it luckily, but as an example, I recently saw a post of Twilight from My Little Pony in a Marvel art style, and it was all AI, but the only problem people had was that she was black in images. Like what? How are artists with unique styles and years of experience getting bullied, but generic AI art gets hundreds of thousands of likes? I can't. This next thing is maybe more of a personal pet peeve, but at some point I think the algorithm started favoring more simple, relatable videos. A lot of my videos were me drawing characters interacting to a popular sound, redrawing a scene from a show or movie, sometimes I even did animations. These would take a lot of time to make, but I really enjoyed it. But at some point it started getting less views, which did bother me at the time, and it didn't help that my For You page would be full of videos of doodles doing silly things with a relatable caption, if you know what I mean. To be clear, nothing against the people making these videos. They are funny, and I like them, but just from the perspective of another artist posting on the same platform, it felt pretty discouraging when my videos that I spent hours drawing for and editing would get a couple thousand likes, but a doodle done in like 2 minutes with a relatable caption got hundreds of thousands of likes. And again, I was more upset at the algorithm, but now I honestly couldn't care less, so character development. And kind of a smaller problem for me personally, but still a big one overall, is tracing. There's people building accounts and gaining big amounts of followers on traced art. Luckily, I haven't been a victim of that so far, but I can only imagine how infuriating it must feel when someone steals your art, gets a following from that, and there's not much you can do about it besides spreading awareness. And obviously, you shouldn't steal art. My art has been traced quite a few times on TikTok. Usually someone would recognize the tracing and tag me in the comments of the video, or I would get tagged by the poster, actually. And for the most part, it would be a recolor of one of my drawings, which is not the useful type of tracing. I have talked about this before, but tracing isn't always bad. I might make a separate video on it. I don't know. My approach is to be polite first. I say, hey, please don't do that, you can reference my art instead, because I actually don't mind that. And most of the times the person would apologize, take the drawing down, and we don't have any issues ever again, which is great. But of course, sometimes they can respond by lying, saying that they drew it a long time ago and just never posted it until now, and yada yada. It is annoying, and I would keep arguing with them until they give up, which is honestly so not worth it looking at it now. I would still try my best not to be rude, but like, who cares? But still, don't trace my art, please. Also, I've seen my picture get traced a good few times, like someone would make their character in one of my pictures and just trace that, which I will never understand. You are still stealing art this way, and by the way, it goes for any picture, not just mine. It's all drawn by someone, and just because it's a character maker, it doesn't make it okay to trace it. Thanks. But that reminds me of another smaller issue, and it's that a lot of people just don't read, whether it's a caption on TikTok or a description on picture as examples, because why, whenever I would post progress updates on my pictures, with the caption clearly saying it's not public yet, a good chunk of the comments would be asking for a link or name of the picture that's not public yet, as it said in the caption. Or I did a whole description on all of my pictures, leaving all of my other socials. And then my comments will get flooded with people asking if I made the pictures, or on rare occasions, literally accusing me of tracing myself, I guess. At some point, it was so bad that I edited my bio to say that, yeah, I made the pictures, and I added the word picture to my comment filters. It was so bad. And I understand that not everyone is gonna check all of that, but getting the same comments over and over every day was really tiring. It's not nearly as frequent now, and I don't care that much anymore, to be honest. And thankfully, that goes for most of the things I talked about. At the time, all the negative comments would really affect me. I would be in a bad mood, I would get headaches all the time, and just overall, it wasn't a fun time for me. And I was older. I was around 18, so it's crazy to me how normalized it is to bully young beginner artists for drawing like young beginner artists. I can only imagine how horrible it must feel. Hell, I'm sure a lot of these kids quit art because you guys just ruin it for them because you find it funny. Y'all are weird. But for me, some things still stuck. I still feel the need to put disclaimers everywhere when I do redesigns or share headcanons. Like, these are just for fun, I don't hate the source material, these are just my opinions, stuff like that. Like, that should be obvious, but I still feel the need to clarify all of that so people don't misunderstand. I have also noticed that I am more irritable online. Little things can get on my nerves and I don't like it. And another thing is sometimes I can misread the tone of a comment because of how passive-aggressive people have become. So at times I would get a comment without an obvious tone indication like emojis or literally a tone indicator. I read it in my head as mean, and sometimes I might respond in a passive-aggressive tone, and then the person clarifies that they didn't mean it like that, and then I hate myself. So if I have ever done this to you, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's something I need to get out of. At least I don't bother with actual hate comments anymore and just delete them and block the person. And now all of this is experience for me. I do bring these things up, especially the negative comments in my videos here and there as part of my journey or part of my thought process on redesigns and stuff. If you are a beginner artist, especially a young one, I would say that TikTok is not the best place for you. It is pretty easy to gain a following on there, but it's also very easy to become another art lore, and people don't really filter what they say, I noticed. So be careful. Internet isn't very safe, as it is, of course, but in my experience, most of the negativity came from TikTok specifically. I wouldn't say that I'm quitting, though. I still like making videos on it from time to time. It's just not nearly as much of a priority for me anymore. So dramatic. But yeah, I just felt like ranting a little bit because I've seen similar videos popping up and thought I could give some of my own input. Hope this wasn't too convoluted. If you want to share your opinions or experiences on the topic, you are very welcome to do so in the comments. I would love to read that. If you like this format, I might make more videos like this. Who knows? Thank you for sticking around. My other socials will be on the screen and in the description. Stay safe and bye!